Hey everyone, welcome to 59 Topps Friday, presented by Wax Pack Wisdom, where we talk baseball history through the cards we love. My name is Jake T. O'Donnell. We built the iconic 1959 Topps baseball set, and in this series we're going through every card to talk about the players, teams, and people who made up Major League Baseball in 1959. Today, we'll cover cards 286 through 292 in the set. Card number 286 belongs to Dean Stone of the Boston Red Sox. 1959 was Stone's sixth season in the big leagues. Stone was a left-handed pitcher who played for the Senators, Red Sox, Colt 45s, White Sox, and Orioles. He originally signed with the Cubs, but was released after a few months. Shortly thereafter, he signed with the Senators and made his Major League debut in 1953 after a few years in their system. Stone appeared in one All-Star game in 1954, where he would be credited as the winning pitcher without officially facing a single batter, because Yogi Berra tagged out Red Schoendienst on a failed attempt to steal home after Stone was brought into the game. Stone would finish his career with a record of 29-39 with a 4.47 ERA and 380 strikeouts. He played one additional year in 1964 in Japan for the Teo Whales. Following his baseball career, Stone owned a landscaping company and completed carpentry work for houses. He also had an interest in honeybees and sold honey. Stone became very involved in his local Little League in Silvis, Illinois, and their field was named after him. Stone died in 2018 at the age of 87. Card number 287 belongs to Don Zimmer of the Los Angeles Dodgers. This was Zimmer's sixth MLB season. Zimmer's career as a player spanned 12 years, in which he was mostly a utility infielder for the Dodgers, Cubs, Mets, Reds, and Senators. But Don Zimmer's legacy in baseball is all about what he did after his playing career as a manager, coach, and advisor. In total, Zimmer spent over 6 decades in professional baseball and said he never drew a paycheck in his life from anything besides baseball. Zimmer grew up in Cincinnati and signed with the Dodgers in 1949. He eventually debuted in 1954 and was part of 2 World Series winning Dodgers teams in 1955 and 1959. The Cubs traded for him in 1960, and he became their everyday second baseman. Zimmer briefly played for the Mets in their inaugural 1962 season and was back with the Dodgers for a short time in 1963 as well. With the Senators, Zimmer even saw some time behind the plate. He hit .235 in just under 1,000 MLB games. Zimmer started his second act as a minor league coach and manager through the 1960s, and then an MLB coach in the 70s. He managed the Padres for parts of 2 seasons, and then was the Red Sox third base coach for the pennant-winning 1975 season. The following year, he took over as manager, a role he held until late 1980. Zimmer then managed in Texas. After a few more coaching stints, he would manage for the final time with the Cubs from 1988 to 1991. Zimmer enjoyed a memorable stint as bench coach for Joe Torre's Yankees from 1996 through 2003, where he won 4 World Series titles. His final stop in baseball was with the Tampa Bay Rays, where he spent the final 11 years of his life as an advisor. The Rays retired his number 66, which represented how many years he spent in professional baseball after his death in 2014. Card number 288 belongs to Dutch Doderer of the Cincinnati Redlegs. 1959 was Doderer's 3rd year in the big leagues. His father, Dutch Doderer Sr., was a minor league shortstop who was then a longtime scout for the Reds, Yankees, and Indians. His brother Tom played minor league baseball, and his son Mike played both professional baseball and football, including being a member of the 1984 Super Bowl champion Raiders. Dutch Doderer spent his time in the big leagues as a catcher between the Reds and Senators. He spent 6 years in the minor leagues and served 2 years in the military before his major league debut in 1957. In 107 games, he batted .247 with 74 hits, including 5 home runs and 33 RBI. He was the only player to hit a grand slam off Sandy Koufax. He also once caught a baseball dropped from a helicopter 585 feet above Crosley Field in Cincinnati. Following his baseball career, he went on to teach bilingual education before retiring. Doderer died in 1999 at the age of 67, and he was posthumously inducted into the Greater Syracuse Hall of Fame in 2005, where both his father and brother are also members. Card number 289 belongs to Johnny Kucks of the New York Yankees. 1959 was Kucks' 5th year in the big leagues. Kucks would play multiple years in the minor leagues, interrupted by a few years of military service before making his major league debut in 1955 with the Yankees. Kucks was an All-Star in 1956 and was a member of the World Series champion Yankees in 1956 and 1958. Highlights from his World Series appearances included being the winning pitcher in Game 7 of the 1956 World Series against the Dodgers, which would be the last World Series game at Ebbets Field, as the Dodgers would later move to Los Angeles. The Yankees had a tradition when it was a pitcher's game to start. A coach would put a baseball in the pitcher's shoe. When Kucks saw the baseball in his shoe before Game 7, he said his first inclination was to put it in someone else's shoe, but he didn't, and the result was the game of his life, shutting down the Dodgers in a 9-0 win. In 1959, the Yankees traded Kucks to the Athletics. Following 2 seasons there, he was purchased by the Orioles and traded to the Cardinals, but would never play in the big leagues for either team. Kucks would end his major league career with a 54 and 56 win-loss record, an ERA of 4.10, and 338 strikeouts. He would go on to work as a stockbroker after baseball, then an account executive for multiple steamship companies. He was inducted into the Hudson County, New Jersey Hall of Fame. He would go on to provide care for his wife Barbara, who died in 2006. Kucks died in 2014 at the age of 80. Card number 290 belongs to Wes Covington of the Milwaukee Braves. 1959 was his 4th MLB season. Covington was born in North Carolina and played alongside Hank Aaron in the Braves minor league system. He debuted in 1956, and the following year the Braves won the World Series against the Yankees, with Covington appearing in all 7 games. 1958 was Covington's best MLB season, although he was limited to just 90 games due to injury. In those games, he managed to hit .330 with 24 homers and 74 RBI, and even got some NL MVP votes. He had 4 RBI in that year's World Series, but the Braves lost to the Yankees this time. Covington's 1959 season was disappointing, ending with a serious ankle injury that impacted him the following season. In 1961, Covington spent time in MLB on 4 different teams: the Braves, White Sox, A's, and finally the Phillies, where he found his niche for manager Gene Mauch. He was the regular left fielder for the Phils into 1965, including the ill-fated 1964 season when the club faded down the stretch. He spent 1966 with the Dodgers and Cubs, ending his MLB career with a strikeout in the World Series. Covington worked in business and advertising after his playing career. Card number 291 is the next multiplayer card in the 1959 top set, Pitching Partners, featuring Washington Senators hurlers Pedro Ramos and Camilo Pascual. Here's what Topps had to say about the duo on the back of the card. The top 2 right-handed flingers on the Senators, Camilo and Pedro, are rough on American League foes. Last year they combined their talents and posted 6 shutouts, which, incidentally, was the total whitewashes for the entire Washington club. Camilo placed number 9 in earned run average, and his stinginess with homers tied him for the lead for fewest round-trippers yielded by a top AL hurler. He can cut the corners with great precision, as his fine strikeout record and low bases on balls mark prove. Among his finest performances were a pair of sparkling 4-hitters. Pedro was the busiest distance hurler in the junior circuit last season, starting 37 games and facing the most batters. His 14 wins were high for the Nats Hill staff. Among Pedro's 10 complete games were 4 shutouts. In 56 and 57, he won 12 games. Card number 292 belongs to Dick Williams of the Kansas City Athletics. 1959 was his 8th big league season. Williams' playing career was long at 13 seasons, yet nondescript. He batted .260 in just over 1,000 games with the Dodgers, Orioles, Indians, A's, and Red Sox, mostly as a reserve who could play all over the field. He had 3 World Series plate appearances in the Dodgers' losing effort in 1953. But his competitiveness kept him on rosters until 1964. The Red Sox noticed talent in Williams that could make him a solid candidate to manage, and he got an opportunity to manage their club in Toronto in 1965, winning International League titles that year and the next. At 37, Williams became the youngest manager in MLB when general manager Dick O'Connell gave him the Red Sox skipper job for 1967. Many of Williams' young players in Toronto had made it to Boston, and on a team led by superstars Carl Yastrzemski and Jim Lonborg, the Red Sox went from last place to the 1967 AL pennant in their impossible dream season. Williams' aggressive, hard-nosed style got the most out of his players, but it generally led to him wearing out his welcome. He spent just 3 seasons in Boston, and then just 3 in Oakland managing the A's. In his first season in Oakland, Williams led the club to 101 wins, and in the other 2, he won back-to-back World Series titles. But he clashed with ownership and left for the Angels. Williams then managed the Expos for 5 years, winning 90 or more games twice. In San Diego, he took the Padres to their first World Series in 1984, but they ran into the buzzsaw that was that year's historic Tigers club in the Fall Classic. He later spent parts of 3 years managing the Mariners. Williams stayed in and around baseball after that stint in Seattle, and in 2007, the Veterans Committee elected him to the Hall of Fame as a manager. He died in 2011. That's going to do it for this edition of 59 Tops Friday on Wax Pack Wisdom. Today's episode was written by Abby O'Donnell and Jake T. O'Donnell. Do you have a story about one of the people, players, or teams we discussed today? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our Wax Pack Wisdom content. In the video description, you will find our source material for this episode, links to where you can follow us on all social media channels, as well as a list of our favorite nonprofits and charities. Please consider a donation to one of them if you enjoyed this content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Wax Pack Wisdom. Take care.